Hey y'all, hope you're having a good morning so far. So today I wanted to bring you all a message that's going to pull in a lot of different a lot of different elements. And I was actually inspired from this book. This is one of the new books that I bought, and I haven't actually started officially reading it. I'm just kind of picking through because I got like a whole bunch of new books, and that's what I like to do. Just pick through and read bits and portions here and there, especially for the videos, to share things that resonate with me and that I feel like are worthy enough to be shared. So I'm pulling inspiration from this book today, and I just want to encourage you on your path as you are focused on personal growth and healing from narcissistic abuse and from any kind of toxic situations that you've come out from and that you've left in your past. And so I just encourage you to look for just little treasures just everywhere in your walk that can be a part of helping to peel away another layer of unconsciousness or brain fog, and just another little shining bright treasure that's going to bring you another point of reference that serves to provide you with clarity. And that's really the meat of this message today, is that I truly believe that if we can get a really good and clear understanding of ourselves, then we're going to be unshakable. We're going to be able to navigate through this reality, through this world that we know we have to share with toxic people. And when I say toxic people, that would include narcissistic people, but you can apply so many labels, right? And we can get lost in that too. And I don't personally feel like that's all that important to be able to correctly diagnose someone, because we're not psychologists. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you may be. I don't know if you're watching this and you're licensed officially. I don't know, but I'm not. And I don't really have a desire to try and fool myself into thinking that I can accurately diagnose. What matters is that we can learn to detect someone with bad intentions, a wolf in sheep's clothing. As the Bible calls these people who are liars, who want to take advantage of and exploit us, and who just have bad intentions altogether. And so we know we have to share this reality with them. And when you have good intentions and a good heart, and you're an honest person, I think the biggest lesson, the most basic lesson, is not just to openly give your trust and then and operate in such a manner that trust comes first until the person proves that they're not trustworthy. It's kind of like that's backwards. So that's like the first slap in the face for us, or it was for me, that you can't do that. Trust really does need to be earned. And so from there, then we start to awaken to a lot of other aspects of how the darkness, this is the way I describe it, how the darkness operates in our reality. And that's very important. It's very important to look outwardly and to try and understand and get a grasp on that. But I truly believe that if we turn it around and put like a mirror on ourselves, and we're able to look into this mirror and to truly work to get a really deep understanding of ourselves, I think that is going to offer us the best protection. And so that's the spirit of the video today, is that I just want you to be encouraged to just be on the lookout on your walk for anything and everything that may offer you another insight into yourself. Because I feel like when we are very sure of ourselves, then, and because that's what a manipulator does, is they try to, I'm looking up at the clouds. It's a little bit distracting. There's a beautiful little heart-shaped cloud, and I don't know if you guys enjoy cloud watching and everything. I love the sky. It's just gorgeous. But anyway, it's like squirrel. But yes, understanding ourselves at a deeper level is going to offer a greater security, against a greater protection against people who wish to exploit us, because they're always looking for our weakness or weaknesses, and if they can sense that we are unsure of ourselves, that's one of the main driving forces that they just take a hold of, is to, okay, I see just a little window of opportunity here where this person may doubt themselves. Let me go ahead and just drive this wedge in and just deepen this doubt that this person has in themselves, so that they can then interject their truths, which are really lies, right? And then take control of this person's mind and life and everything else. So again, to strengthen ourselves by the means of understanding ourselves, right? Because how can you really, this was like an understanding I had to come to. How can you truly understand how to strengthen yourself if you don't even know where you are to begin with? So I think it's important to look at just human nature in general, and as well as the specifics in your history, your family, anything that has had a great impact on you, and your character, your beliefs. There's just so many different lenses. And so speaking of lenses, that's why I like to just pull random, because it seems unrelated, right, this book, but this is just another interest I have, which is myths and stories and folklore and fairy tales and ancient history. I just love that kind of stuff. And so I just, since I have an interest there, I look for bits and pieces, things that resonate with me, that are going to help me understand myself better. And I found something that I thought was kind of cool. And I feel like you can take anything and just run with it, and almost create your own rabbit hole to dive in, to do a deep dive into research, and it's just like in doing that, through that process, you're gonna find treasures, unexpected too. And that's the cool part. That's what makes them really special. And when something really great like that happens, it's like when it's unexpected, I think it sticks more so, you know what I mean? Like a surprise. And so when we're researching, we can also find those surprises, and for me, my experience is that they really stick because of the way we came across them, right? So all right, I'm going to be reading a little bit from this book, and we're just going to be expanding on that. And I've looked up some definitions and expanded on some words and what they mean and all that. So all right, so that's the spirit of the message today, is understanding ourselves. And I feel like as we understand ourselves better, we can better define our edges or our independent identity, right? Because that's essentially creating our sovereignty. And so that when you have blurry edges, like if you grow up in like an enmeshed environment or with a controlling parent, where you really, your boundaries haven't been respected, then you've been conditioned to not really even know where you stop and another person begins. And what we want to do is understand, that we are a whole human being, independent of other human beings, because that's a great misconception, is to believe that we're all the same, because we're not. Some people have good intentions and some people have bad intentions. So we need to be able to define the edges that separate us and other people. And that's what creates our independent sovereignty. And therefore gives us like a license for the authority over our own life. You see what I'm saying? If you don't have any edges, then it's kind of like there's no boundaries, and you don't really have it's like other people out here are going to have the same authority over your life that you do. It's kind of like there's no boundary. So boundaries are greatly important, and we create those boundaries by first understanding where we stop and another begins, where those edges are that make us an independent person. So again, coming out of an enmeshed kind of family, you have to work at this. It's like it takes effort, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And you know, when you can expand your mind and truly try to find these nuggets of wisdom anywhere and everywhere, right? Just everywhere you look, then it's like I view all this as different lenses. And if we're willing to invest the time on all these different avenues one by one, then I truly think they're going to bless us and expand our mind and help us to truly understand ourselves and where our edges are, and therefore we know what we're defending at that point. You see what I'm saying? And we also know, once we better know ourselves, we're going to better understand others as well, because we'll have a point of reference. You see what I'm saying? Because again, I think there's sometimes this subconscious belief that we're just all the same, because we want subconsciously or unconsciously, I don't know, I don't know the proper way to pin down this thought here, but I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. I think we all want to believe that, you know, everybody has a good heart, you know, like at the core, and so we make excuses for people and stuff. That's the way we are when we're operating through naivety, when we're very naive. And then once we come into this awareness and we learn that we're not all the same, then it's totally different ball game, and we're just it can prompt you to truly understand the differences, because that's going to be your protection. So I know that was a really long opening, but I hope you got something out of it. And you know, the funny thing is, it's like when you think about things such as this, okay, and I'm going to share with you what I do when I journal, because when I'm making notes for a video, it's kind of like a blend of my own journaling and my thoughts, as well as notes and preparation for the videos. And I just encourage you to do this too, to ask questions, even in your journaling, you know, just write down questions, even if you don't know the answer. So one of my questions I wrote is, what comprises a human being? And I know that sometimes, I know, like for me, in the past, I would have never written a question like that, because it's kind of like obvious. You see what I'm saying? But it's when we are willing to pause and truly observe on a deeper level, we're going to get a deeper understanding. And you could take just any kind of concept like this, one by one, focus in on it, you know, zoom in on it, dig a little bit deeper, and you might be surprised. Like I said, like this little nugget of wisdom that you can extract. So essentially what we're doing when we ask questions like this is we're recategorizing descriptive qualities of what it means to be a human being for a deeper understanding. So it reminds me of that Bible verse, you know, that the principal thing is wisdom, but with all you're getting, get understanding. So there's a differentiation between wisdom and understanding. Like a textbook understanding and a true, like, I get it kind of understanding that's deeper. And that's the work we're doing. The thing is, narcissists study us, and you know, they have to have a good understanding of us to even be able to manipulate us and to game us. They have to have somewhat of a good understanding, and I feel like it almost seems like they may understand us better than we understand ourselves. And the thing is, I feel like if a narcissist takes a look at you after you have come into this awareness and you've done some genuine work and put some effort in, and you have come into a much greater understanding of yourself, you're going to be a lot more confident, and you're going to project this confidence in who you are, knowing yourself. And I think that's going to be like a repellent to these people, because they're going to look at you and they're going to know they can't manipulate you. So again, strengthening ourselves by virtue of understanding who we really are is going to be a wonderful defense against anyone seeking to manipulate us. So please don't overlook things that seem just, simple or just common knowledge. I would just encourage you to take a look at everything again, but do so in a deeper, deep dive kind of manner. All right, so we're studying ourselves for the purpose of reconstruction. That's what we're doing, right? Because you feel so broken initially when you come out of a bad situation. So, okay, I want to go ahead and share some quotes with you from this book, and then we're going to talk about it. So, if you have the book, it's going to be on page 78. And I'm probably not going to pronounce these names correctly. I think these are like Greek gods. So it says, breath gave Odin, spirit gave Honir, blood gave Luar, and fresh complexions. Okay, so we've got these three parts, like the construction of a human being is what they're talking about via the gods through these Greek beliefs. Okay, so we have breath, spirit, and then blood and fresh complexions. So let's break this down. So then in this other quote on the next page here, it says, the first gave them breath and life. So now we're talking about from Odin, right? We have an association between breath and life. So we're looking deeper into what it means to have breath as being a human being. What does that mean? And so breath is related to life in this quote, and I would take this to mean that we can reclaim our sovereignty, our authority over our life by first regulating or controlling our breath. That's something within our control. It happens automatically, just as part of being in these physical bodies, but we can, since we've made that association now between breath and life, and we want to intentionally take the reins, then again, we can reclaim our authority over ourselves, our sovereignty, by taking a moment throughout our day just to pause 5 or 10 seconds and to mindfully breathe deeply, right? Mindful control, intentionally doing some deep breathing. And it's just all about, again, taking control. And so there's that beautiful association between breath and life. And what we're doing when we do this, when we are being mindful with our breathing, is we're clearing our mind and of chaos, of confusion, of we're getting centered, and so it's very effective, very, very effective. So I thought that was beautiful, just to remind ourselves, the importance of breath on a deeper level. Okay, so the first gave them breath and life. The second, and remember, going back to this first quote, so breath gave Odin, and then we have spirit gave Honir. Okay, so now we're talking about spirit. So it says the second, wits and movement. So now we have an association between spirit being related to wits and movement. And I think that's why when you come out of a narcissistically abusive situation, you feel like your spirit has been diminished or minimized, impacted greatly. It's everything. We know that it's our mind and it's our emotions and it's our body and it's all these different parts of us have been abused. But if you look at what people say, it feels like a spiritual attack. And so it's kind of like, what does that mean? Because we talk about it at the surface level, but let's take it deeper. This is what we do in our alone time, which is very important, to spend some time just kind of being a hermit, and living in that mode where we are able to put this effort in for ourselves. Okay, so spirit now is related to wits and movement. Remember how I talked about feeling frozen, and how we can then blame ourselves for that? Well, that's a trauma response. And so here we have spirit being related to movement. When your spirit has been injured, it also affects our movement. We can just find ourselves just plopping down and not wanting to get up and go and move. So it greatly affects our movement. Yes, of course, this is just validation for us and what we went through, right? And this is ancient stuff, validating us. So these truths don't change throughout history, and they're all recorded, and they're, I feel like, just an expression of this numinous love that can flow through human beings with a good heart, and they leave this information for us throughout history for reasons just like this that we're talking about today. So again, we have spirit being related to movement, and wits, which means a well-working mind. Well, when you're consistently gaslit and all the tactics, you're manipulated, you're lied to, that's going to affect your mind and your neural pathways. It's like you have to rework all that. So yes, I thought that was really cool. And then it says the third, remember, blood gave Loder. I'm not sure how to read yet. This the characters, even in their alphabet, are a little bit different. So I just encourage you, if you have interest, to look into that. But blood is the third, okay, and also fresh complexions. So over here in the second quote, it says the third, faces, speech, hearing, and vision. They gave them names and clothes. So now we have an association between blood and complexion, and then faces, speech, hearing, vision, names, and clothes. So what I did was I ran with the word complexion here in this third aspect of the construction of a human being, okay? And this was really interesting to me. So complexion, to break that down, the old meaning of complexion, and this is from vocabulary.com, is a combination of elements. So there's something called the four humors, H-U-M-O-R-S, that you can look into, that's related to this period of time in history in Greece. And it says a combination of elements that was once believed to determine a person's health and temperament. And then to expand on that, it also has this part here, this piece here in vocabulary.com. It says the complex of emotional and intellectual attributes, okay, that determine a person's characteristic actions and reactions. And so I thought that was really interesting, how there's this and this is all the part that that is greatly impacted here too, with going through manipulation. So yes, so now we're going to differentiate the difference between what they just said here, characteristic actions versus reactions, okay? And before we do that, I want to go ahead and share a quote with you, and then we're going to come back to this. But just keep that in mind, in the back of your mind, where it says, remember, complexion, the complex of emotional and intellectual attributes that determine a person's characteristic actions and reactions. All right, so there's a quote on page 81 here in this book. And the title of this section that I'm reading from is called Why People Are Trees. Why People Are Trees. Isn't that cool? And so that kind of gives you a little bit of context. It says, although trees cannot move, their strength and uprightness, their participation in annual cycles, and their longevity and eventual death by disease, fire, or the woodsman's axe makes them powerful comparators for human existence. Trees represent what humans aspire to be: beautiful, dignified, strong, and enduring. I thought that was cool. And so yes, so You guys heard of this old song? It reminded me of this song by Tanya Tucker. It's called Strong Enough to Bend. It's about relating a person to a tree and how trees are just able to withstand these great storms, and they're meant to bend and not break. And so I was reminded of that song, right? Because trees don't easily break. Okay. So, and the cool thing about associating ourselves with trees, you know, I feel like we're kind of already on that path anyway when we're talking about implementing gray rock as a defense against narcissistic abuse, right? Against narcissists is to be like a rock, to gray rock, and not give them any emotional input or fuel. But we can also, for our benefit, view ourselves as trees, okay? Because again, notice in the quote that trees cannot move, right? They have a strength and uprightness. This is what we need to fully develop and strengthen so that we are immovable, okay? Because when we are immovable, now what we were just talking about is going to make a lot more sense, because going back to that definition on vocabulary.com, the complex of emotional and intellectual attributes that determine a person's characteristic actions and reactions, because characteristic actions are logically driven. They're a response, a logical response, but reactions are emotionally driven, okay? So when we are being a tree or a gray rock, well, you can gray rock, but when you're being a tree, it's different, because that just essentially means that you have grown your roots because you've, you know, taken the time to truly understand yourself, and you are strong, and you are now intentionally responding from your character. Again, characteristic actions. You're responding from your character with intention and control, being mindful in whatever situation this is before you that you're in and engaged in. And a reaction is emotionally driven. You're out of control. So that's certainly not characteristic of a tree. So I hope this lens is giving you something that's meaningful. It did for me, to look at everything this way, okay? We want to logically respond. So, yes. Okay, let me take a look at my notes here, make sure I've gone over everything. Yes, getting rooted deeper, getting stronger, and a manipulative person will view this as negative. They may even view this personally like rejection, and it really is, because we're essentially rejecting their manipulation is what we're doing. And the cool thing is, it's going to, when you're strong in who you are, it's going to expose a narcissist, just that in itself, because they're going to potentially react. It's like the tables have turned now, and just by you being strong in who you are, a lot of times narcissists will take that personally, because they have such fragile egos, and they may react very strongly to that emotionally. But see, a person that has good intentions in their heart towards you, they're going to honor that. They're going to respect that in you and love that about you. They're going to share in your joy of having a good hold on yourself, and truly knowing yourself, and having these reinforced boundaries. A person with good intentions is going to love that about you, and they're going to share in your joy about that, and they're going to work to be the same for themselves. And so I just hope that this has been a message that has blessed you today, and I hope I've given you some things to think about. And I just thank you all for coming along today, and I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I will see you again very soon.